everybody, I hope you and your families are all well. The title of this series is Making Counting Count. So I thought the best place to actually look at to understand the reasons as to why we're counting and what we're doing whilst we're counting the Sfiras Omer between Pesach and Shavuos is in the actual text of the Sfiras Omer itself. Towards the end of the Sfiras Omer text we say, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the world, Ata Tzivisanu, you have commanded us, Al Yedei Moshe Avdecha, through Moshe Rabbeinu, your servant, list by Sfiras Omer, to count Sfiras Omer, Kedei Letaharenu, Miklipaseinu, Umitomaseinu, to purify ourselves from all the impurities that we have. Now we know that during the Seder night we say B'chol dor v'dor Chayav Adam Niras es atzmoi Ki'ilu hu yotza miMitzrayim. We see ourselves leaving Mitzrayim on the night of the Pesach Seder, and throughout the night of the Pesach Seder, through the Haggadah, it's as if we're actually leaving Mitzrayim and making our way through the Midbar, receiving the Torah and then making our way to Eretz Yisrael. Similarly, the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos are all a climb that a symbolic climb, where we remove ourselves from the Tomei of Mitzrayim, of where we are, in order to the 49 levels of Tomei, in order to reach the highest level of purity through the 49 levels of Kedusha. And that climb we make from the night of Pesach, from the second night of Pesach, the first time we count the Sfiras Omer, all the way up until Shavuos, until the night before Shavuos. Now, it's very easy to actually mistaken the Tumah that we talk about, the impurity that we talk about, as an impurity of sherets and avela, of carcasses and impure animals or any other form of Tomei, but we're not actually talking about that. When we actually remove ourselves in those 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuos, the Tomei, the impurity that we're trying to get away from, is the Tomei, we're told, of the midas, the character imperfections that we have, the bad midas that we have, which is symbolic that we had in Mitzrayim, all the levels of bad midas that the Mitzrayim had. We now try and climb out of those in order to perfect our midas as best as we can. The Manashtana itself is again symbolic of us willing to change ourselves. Manashtana, why this is changed, we want to get out of our comfort zones, to change ourselves, to change our own midas, in order to be able to have as good midas as possible. The word Mishnah, the word Neshama, and the word Mashana are all words with the same letters in. We're trying to change our Neshama, we're trying to change our soul. Mashana, we're trying to change it. And Mishnah is through learning and through understanding the learning, through implementing the learning that we have. This is how we change ourselves. You find that I once heard a very beautiful vort from Rabbi Hager, Zachron Levracha. He told me that it says in the pasuk, "Vayecharad Yitzchak Harada Gadol Ad Ma'od." When Yaakov Avinu came to get the brachas from his father instead of Esav, when Yitzchak Avinu, when he realized his mistake, the pasuk says, "Vayecharad Yitzchak Harada Gadol Ad Ma'od." Why so many lashonos? Why so many different expressions to tell us that Yitzchak Avinu trembled, a great big trembling ad ma'od so much? Why not just say that Yitzchak, realized he made a mistake? And he said that the older a person gets, the more difficult it is for him to acknowledge that he's made a mistake. When Yitzchak Avinu was a very old man at that time, when he realized he made a mistake, in order for him to actually acknowledge that he'd made a mistake, it took a lot out of him to be able to acknowledge that mistake. Vayecharad Yitzchak Harada Gadol Ad Ma'od. Yitzchak trembled, a great big trembling, when he realized he made a mistake, and that he could acknowledge. So we talk about midas. What exactly are midas? We talk about midas, and the translations are actually roughly translated. People normally translate the word midas as character traits. But actually the definition, the actual translation of the word midas is measure. And we talk about bad midas, people having bad midas, arrogance and anger, for example, and good midas, humility and calmness, for example. But actually the word midas literally means measurement. There are no such thing as bad midas. There's midas that we're all given, and all of those midas with the correct balance, They can either be bad midas or good midas. If somebody decides to be very, very generous, which is a great midah, and give away all their money and not support their families, that's an unbalanced midah, and it turns into a bad midah. If somebody is too humble all the time, that's a bad midah. If somebody's too arrogant all the time, that's a bad midah. But you always have to have a little bit of arrogance or a little bit of humility and a little bit in a balanced way of all these midas in order to be able to work on ourselves properly. Rabbi Chaim Vital, the teacher of the Ariya Kodesh, he writes fascinating understanding into midas itself, which we don't have time to go into now, but he actually gives us the definition of what midas are, and he separates them into 4 different levels: fire, water, wind, and earth. There's a great book out there, apart from the Shar Kedusha of Rabbi Chaim Vital, but there's a great book out there by a counselor in America called The 4 Elements of Life, I think it's called, where he actually explains how people can actually look at each other and look at themselves and understanding where their wind parts are, where their fire parts are, where their water parts are, where their earth parts are, where the fire is arrogance and the wind is bad speech, in a bad water has other good elements and bad elements, and we actually have to find the root, not the branches. We actually have to find the root in order to be able to understand where we struggle with it, anger or anxiety, or whether it's being very materialistic, etc. We have to look at our midas in order to understand how to change the midas into developing those midas and channeling them in the right direction. We don't very often you'll find people want to break a very bad midah. They're a very angry person, and they'd like to channel that, and not just channel that in the right direction, but actually break that midah. The Kotzker Rebbe once said, he said, when you break a midah into 2, people often make the mistake. What they're doing is actually creating 2 bad midahs. It's not about breaking the midah, it's about channeling the midah into the right direction. And I think if you look at most Musas for him, and there are many out there, especially with English translations today. My favorite is the Chavis al-Talmidim, Shevet Musa, and many others. They will actually take the midah, the Teferes HaMidas, the one which is with the most important humility, because when we're not humble, that's when we actually are at our worst. And I saw a beautiful insight into a part of davening that when I was a young boy, I really struggled with. When I was a young boy, a young teenager, basically the most important parts of the Amidah of the Shemona Esrei were for me Atachoinen. I should do well in my tests, and Baruch Aleinu, that my father should have enough money to be able to provide for me and have great toys, etc. Didn't really understand the other parts of the davening as much as I didn't appreciate them as much as I do today. But the one part that really annoyed me about the Shemona Esrei was right at the end, after Lekayla Tzol Shani Merah, we say the words "V'nafshi ka'afar l'kol tihiyeh," and I understood the translation meaning as my nefesh, my soul, let it be like dirt before everybody else. And I really, I could understand that. There were parts of the Shemona Esrei that I could struggle with, but why would I actually daven that everybody should think of me like dirt? And I saw a beautiful vod, which, actually, first of all, Tosfos explains that the idea behind us saying "V'nafshi ka'afar l'kol tihiyeh" is simply put as follows. When you tread on earth is not bothered by you treading on it. Our davening, our prayer, our tefillah of nafshi ka'afar l'kol tihiyeh is if people tread upon us, it shouldn't hurt us, it shouldn't really bother us. So many conflicts, so many difficulties that people have in their day-to-day lives is because somebody said something that hurt them, and they have to say something back, and then you go low, I'll go even lower, and it ends up in all sorts of terrible things happening. So on the basic level, says Tosfos, that we say v'nafshi ka'afar l'kol tihiyeh, let it not bother me at all, just like earth, let it not bother me at all that people are treading all over me. But I saw an even deeper understanding of this from Reb Hershel of Rimanov as a Chusin Aleinu. He says as following, he says that if you look at earth, good earth, the more you fertilize it, the more rubbish you put on that earth, the better it is. He says that the more rubbish, the tefillah that we have over here, what we say, v'nafshi ka'afar l'kol tihiyeh, is that we are davening that the more rubbish a person dumps on us, the better we are. The more we ignore it, obviously. Not that we want people to dump on us, some rubbish. But we should reach a level where it shouldn't bother us at all, and we become better people when people actually do things that we perceive as being bad and unkind towards us, but we just let it go, let it pass. That's an amazing midah to have, and that's the tefillah that we have of nafshika afala kol tiyeh. I want to be a better person. As the Gemara says, Shomer chepasam me'edim hashivim, one of the greatest brachas the Gemara in Shabbos gives a person is people who hear that people speaking badly about them and that they don't reply, they ignore it. I end with this. The Tana Devei Eliyahu, becoming up to Lag BaOmer now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the one who discovered and brought to the world the Tana Devei Eliyahu. He says the most amazing thing. He says that Havei onav l'chol adam, a person, I'm not quoting it exactly, but I think the words are Havei onav l'chol adam, you should be humble before every person. But amazingly he says anshe beischa yosem ekol adam, to be humble amongst your family, your immediate family, your parents, your siblings, your spouse, your children. That is possibly the hardest place to be an onav in front of them, because what goes on at home is completely different to the way people behave at home and behave towards their immediate family is far different, I think you'll all agree, with the way they behave towards everybody else. So the most important part of being humble, especially in these times when we're so connected to our families and we're so close to our families, but it's inevitable that there's conflict and people are going to get fed up with each other and get annoyed with each other, and not be onav b'kol adam in front of the bnei beis, in front of their household. I think the message is that if we can just even when our husband or our wife or our brother or our sister or our parents or whoever it is say something nasty or something horrible or say something which we find offensive, if we can let that pass, hopefully in that zchus that we actually are able to letaharenu miklipaseinu mitamasenu, that the sfira sa'ima that we say every day is that we purify ourselves and we better ourselves in our midas, so that these midas are measured and balanced in the correct way. Hopefully that's chus, and the many chusim of so many people doing such amazing things in these times, that everybody who needs a refuah shalema should have a refuah shalema as quickly as possible. We should get rid of this magefa as quickly as it came. It should go, and I wish you and your families only good, happy, healthy lives, and I wish you all the best.